take number 2. Just for the start of the video, the freeze frame bit. Hi there, and I haven't read these too well, so I'm doing another retake of... this is Emily and Bill. Emily and Bill the Magic Unicorn. Maybe it'll talk of Emily. And this is Emily and Bill meet Pirate Pete. This is in 20 points, so I should be able to read this without my glasses on. Although I normally wear them just to cover up how bad my eyes are. That's a big sniff, wasn't it? I do apologise. Children, don't listen to the nasty big sniff. Okay, always carry a tissue. Emily and Bill meet Pirate Pete. That's right, I forgot I'm doing a children's story here, so I need to quit the ad-libs on this one. Right, once upon a time there was a unicorn named Bill. If you don't know his story yet, well, very soon you will. He once had gotten lost, you see, and could not find his way home. But then he met young Emily, who found the land from where he'd roamed. Bill's mum was oh so grateful that a wondrous gift she gave, a magic carpet just like Bill's, that Emily flies most days. On this bright sunny morning, they're out on a sky ride. Where shall we go today, Bill? It's your turn to decide. If you don't mind, Emily, and if the choice is up to me, I'd really like to hit the beach and paddle in the sea. Oh yes, cried Emily. I would love that too. We can build a sand castle out there by the edge of the ocean blue. And so in no time at all had they reached the seaside, and soon were walking on the sand, watching all the seagulls glide. Apologies for the voice. Bill felt people stare at him, and then he had a thought, and soon his horn was covered up by a hat that Emily bought. They all think you're a donkey now, laughed Emily with glee. As long as they don't get any ideas, Bill huffed, that they can ride on me. Emily bought a bucket and spade, and in the sand she dug. When something hard her spade did hit, so she gave it a tug. A little chest came out the hole, and Emily gave a gasp. Bill, it's got pirate markings on, she said as she opened the clasp. Avast, ye scurvy knaves, a voice behind them cried. That treasure chest belongs to me. Don't you dare look inside. Emily and Bill both turned around, and there stood a young boy. Who are you? I'm Pirate Pete. Oh, and P.S. Ahoy! Ahoy back, Pete. I'm Emily, and this is my friend Bill. I've never met a pirate before, and I can't say that I'm thrilled. Well, that's not very nice, said Pete. What thoughts are in your mind that make you judge without knowing me and say things quite unkind? You've got a pirate hat, Bill said. That's why we're nervous of you. That's not a skull and crossbones sign, said Pete. It's where a seagull did a poo. Emily, she looked at Bill, and both began to laugh. Worse, said Pete. It's not just my hat. Tonight I'll need a bath. Please don't take offence, said Bill, but pirates have a reputation. And you introduced yourself as Pirate Pete. Well, that's quite a proclamation. And you wear a stripy shirt, Emily remarked. So we can't help but wondering where your pirate ship is parked. I see where you're coming from, said Pete with a grin. But it's not the clothes you wear, you know. It's who you are within. And by the way, your hat's not straight. In fact, it's very wonky. Pete lifted it to put it right and gasped, Hey, you're not a donkey. Shh, said Emily and Bill at once. We don't want the secret out. Bill here is a unicorn, Pete. Well, yeah, the horn left me in little doubt. Then the three of them, they all sat down on the warm and shiny sand. I think we're going to be friends, said Bill. Pete said, "That sounds like a great plan." "Now about this chest," said Emily. Pete sighed. "I hid it deep last week, but I never made a note of where. It's been the worst game of hide and seek." Emily looked inside the chest, and there she saw a map. She pulled it out most gingerly and laid it on her lap. "It says, 'X marks the treasure spot,'" she read, her voice a whisper. "Extra marks for measuring dots?" Poor Bill, he had misheard. Pete and Emily clutched their sides, their eyes full of laughter tears. "Oh, Bill," they said, "I think you've got too much sand in your ears." And when their laughter had died down, Pete said, "Let's set off now. The map says take 10 steps to starboard and 30 steps to bow. There you'll find a sand dune with a pirate flag on top. That's your destination. That's where you must stop." They set off all together, though Bill got left behind. Because he had 4 hooves, not 2, the wrong dune did he find. "Come on, Bill, it's this one," yelled Emily with glee. She pulled her little spade out and started digging furiously. The sand dunes soon had crumbled, and there before them lay a voucher for 3 ice creams that was due to expire today. "At last I've got it back," said Pete, "and just in time it seems. I was saving this for a special occasion on a day of fulfilled dreams." Off they raced to the ice cream man. "3 of your finest ones, please, vendor. We're going to eat them on the hill and watch the sunset splendour." Emily chose strawberry. It was her favourite flavour. But when Pete said, "And what's yours, Bill?" well, Bill began to waver. "I'm really not an ice cream eater, though I'm sure they're very nice. Unless," he asked Pete hopefully, "they do a grass-flavoured chalk ice?" "That's not in my repertoire." The ice cream seller smiled. "I've never been asked for a grass ice cream, not by one single child." "Try a chocolate one, Bill," Pete suggested. "I'm sure it's much the same." "If you insist, but if there's a consequence, it'll be me that you both blame." The 3 climbed up upon a bank and watched the sun head towards the sea. "I've had the greatest day," said Pete, and both his new friends agreed. "But what's that funny pong?" asked Pete. Bill dropped his eyes and sighed. "Unicorns should never eat ice cream, and now you both know why." Pete and Emily glanced at him, gave his fur a stroke. "Oh, Bill, we'll blame it on the gulls." And they all laughed at the joke. Bill looked at the sky and said, "The weather's about to shift. Come on, Pete, let's get you home. We'll give you a lift." They took Pete to the hiding place where their carpets were softly laying. "That's not much of a taxi," said Pete. "I do apologise, if you don't mind me saying." "Here, sit on mine," said Emily, "and prepare for a surprise." She rose the carpet into the air. Pete stammered, It flies." "And so does mine," said Bill, as he flew up beside them. "What good is having magic carpets if you're not going to ride them?" "Come on, Emily," exclaimed Bill. "Why don't we have a race?" "That's a great idea," she said, "because 10 pigeons are giving chase." They hurtled in and out of the clouds, and Pete sighed excitedly. "This is the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me." Through the sunset's curtain came whoops and whoops of joy from one girl and one unicorn and one very happy boy. They landed next to Pete's house, and there they hugged goodbye. But none of them were sad at all. and I think that you know why. They'd all agreed to meet again, and every time they did, Pirate Pete would greet them saying, "Another treasure chest, I've heard." Off they'd go out to the beach, and a new hunt did begin, which always ended up with ice creams, and in Bill's case, ended up with wind. And if you're ever sitting home, wondering what to do, remember this: you never know. Bill and Emily might visit you. That's the story of Emily and Bill meet Pirate Pete. To my children, that kiss was, by the way. Thank you, guys.